Good Friday evening to you. Welcome to More Sports and Les Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. We hope your Friday is off to a great start. We have a jam-packed show. We will talk Cleveland Browns and some of the April transactions that have gone on. We'll talk Ohio State Buckeyes with Doug Lesmerises down in Columbus. We'll check in with Ryan Mitchell, voice of the Columbus Clippers. But we begin tonight talking Tribe. The Indians getting ready to start Game 2 of their 4-game series with the Toronto Blue Jays. That's coming up in just about an hour. Last night, Tribe won 4-1. And let's welcome in Mandy Bell, the Indians beat reporter for MLB.com. Mandy, we appreciate the time as always. Trevor Bauer, 7 innings pitched, no hits allowed. His pitch total ran up, so he couldn't finish the game out, but he's off to an outstanding start to the season for Trevor Bauer.
I don't think there could have been a better start for Bauer to have this year. I mean, after last night's outing, he became the first pitcher in Major League history to go at least 5 innings in his first 2 starts and only allow 1 hit. So he's been determined to prove that he's going to be coming back better in 2019 than what he was last year in his breakout season in 18, and he's doing just that so far. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but last night, I mean, you're seeing those numbers now. It was absolutely incredible to watch. He went through 7 innings, but the crazy part was watching all of the walks. So in the 3rd inning, he loads the bases, a walk, a hit by pitch, and another walk. Then he said he relied on his biggest weapon, his curveball. I think it was 14 pitches that he threw after the bases were loaded, and 8 of them were curves. Roberto Perez said after the game, if they can't make adjustments, why throw a different pitch? And I thought that was a great quote because he's really been untouchable whenever he is at his best so far. The curve's been working, and then the changeup in the first start. With these pitches, I don't know what batters are supposed to do when he has so many weapons at his disposal.
Indians get the win. Now, Game 2 of this series, Shane Bieber will make his first start of the season. And Shane Bieber is a guy that I know he pitched 2 innings in relief, but he looked pretty good in the spring as well. What do you expect to see from Shane Bieber tonight? Let's keep in mind he hasn't started a game since March 24th. So there's a long layoff. Mentioned he did pitch 2 innings the 31st against the Twins. What do you expect to see from Bieber?
Well, like you said, it's been a little bit of some downtime, but the Indians wouldn't have done that to him if they didn't think that he could handle it. Because of the off days to start the year, he had to have his start bumped back. They wanted to make sure that their top 4 guys had stayed pretty much on schedule. So he'll be making his first start of the year tonight. Like you said, he did work out of the pen. That was his decision. He wanted to make sure that he was still involved, and the Indians agreed to do it just in case, like in an emergency situation. So he did get 2 innings under his belt this year, but after the spring that he had, he looks like he is coming back a lot stronger this year than what he was in his rookie campaign last year. Everyone's expecting big things from him this year, so it should be exciting to see what he does in his first start of the season.
Shane Bieber went from AA to AAA to the big leagues and was 11-5 last year as a rookie. Let's talk a little bit about a guy that the Indians would love to get back. Jason Kipnis was taking ground balls back out on the field at Progressive Field yesterday, so he's back doing baseball activities, and that's always a good sign. Yeah, so he worked out with the Indians at Progressive Field yesterday, hopped in his car, drove to Columbus, and will begin a rehab start tonight for the Columbus Clippers. What do you expect, and what do the Indians expect from Kipnis?
Well, it seems like Kipnis himself thinks that it should only be about 5 or 6 innings for tonight, and then they want to make sure that he's playing second base as much as possible. Francona said yesterday that there's going to be some days that he mixes in a DH, but Kipnis said that he wants to be able to rejoin the Tribe while they're on their next road trip. It's going to be 9 games. It starts next Tuesday and runs through the 17th of April. So he wants to get back with the team by the time that the road trip is done. Now, will that happen? We're not really sure, but it seemed like the way he was working out yesterday that he was going full throttle. He said he has no pain left in that calf right now. So it seems like all signs are pointing in the positive direction to be able to get him back. And the Indians need that veteran presence in that clubhouse.
Indians beat reporter for MLB.com, Mandy Bell. Last question I'll ask you. Just a quick reaction. You're with the team all the time. What was the reaction earlier this week when Tito Francona was signed to a 2-year extension? How excited were the team? How excited was the organization, knowing that he's going to be there for a couple more years?
It was funny because we go into the clubhouse and there's so many new faces that have just met Terry Francona, which was hard to imagine. But when we started going around the room talking to guys like Roberto Perez and different faces that have been there for a few years and will be there for a few more, everyone seemed to have the same reaction. And it was just like a sense of comfort knowing that they're going to be under the same management for the next few years. And what Terry Francona has done for the Indians since he got here, now I guess it's about to be 7 years ago. Or 8 years ago, and it's just been warmly received from everybody. And it was funny whenever Francona came down and President Chris Antonetti's down there just talking as highly as you can talk about him, and Francona was just forced to sit there and listen. And you know that he didn't enjoy any second of just having to sit there and take all the credit, because he's always wanted to dish it off to everybody else. But it was cool to see a nice solid 15 minutes of him getting all the credit that he deserves.
Mandy Bell, the Indians beat reporter for MLB.com. We appreciate the time, as always, and the insight into the Indians. It'll be interesting to see. We'll keep an eye on Jason Kipnis rehabbing. Well, we've talked about Columbus. We're going to check in with the voice of the Columbus Clippers, Ryan Mitchell. Straight ahead, we'll talk some cargo and some Cameron Maybin. It's the Weekend Winners Edition here on cleveland.com. Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. Without question, the Indians' offense can use some help. And help may be as close as Columbus in AAA. As the Clippers got their season underway, they scored 10 runs and had 11 hits. Their outfield, 1, 2, and 3, Mercado, Maybin, and Carlos Gonzalez, actually looked pretty good. Let's take a look at some highlights. The first guy we're going to look at, Carlos Gonzalez, and he was 2 for 4 with an RBI. That double to left. A big hop. Remember, he signed very late in spring training. Indians have until April 20th to call him up, or he can opt out of his contract. Cameron Maybin signed late in spring after being released by the Giants. He was 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Nearly hit a home run to left center there. And Maybin had some base running issues, but by and large hit the ball pretty well. Guy that really impressed, Oscar Mercado, was the leadoff man, played center field. 2 for 4, 2 runs scored, an RBI through the drawn-in infield. Also impressed the Tribe in spring training as he hit 400 this spring. Youngster continues to do what he needs to do to work his way up to the big leagues. And Trace Thompson, the DH, 1 for 2, 2 runs batted in, 2 runs scored, has battled injuries the last couple of years, predominantly to his back. Painted the line in left field there for that double. But if he is healthy, he is a guy that could provide some help at the big league level as well. Well, it's time to welcome in one of the voices of the Columbus Clippers, Ryan Mitchell. Ryan called the game last night. First of all, let's start with the thing Indians fans want to know. How did Cargo look? That's a guy that the Indians pretty much feel will be ready to come up before that April 20th date.
Yeah, this is essentially his spring training because he got such a late start as a late signee, as a minor league free agent. He's part of that class of baseball players now who are going to be in that late signing, trying to get themselves ready in late spring training class. So he looked fine last night. Right field in Columbus is not an easy place to play because of the nooks and crannies and the tall wall that is some pad and some is kind of a wire fence where fans look in from the street. So that'll be a bit of a challenge, but listen, the Indians aren't worried about his defense. He has been great defensively in his major league career, so that's not going to be an issue. How's the timing? Is he able to catch up to the hot fastballs? Can he adjust to the off-speed stuff? And certainly in his first at-bat, some of his swings looked a little bit wonky, but by the end of the night, he looked very comfortable at the plate. And again, as you said, it's not a long stretch here for him before the Indians have to make a decision.
Another guy that the Indians signed late, Cameron Maybin. What did you see? Maybin, you saw hitting third, playing left field. This was what the lineup was in that opener, and it's dotted with major leaguers. What did you see from Cameron Maybin?
It still has good speed. The Indians think he can play all three outfield positions, but probably better served on the corners at this point of his career. It's amazing when you look at the career stats, you look at the back of his baseball card, just how long he's been in the major leagues. He's been a part of a lot of big trades as well, so he can still swing. His swing looked comfortable. He made a bad play in left field where he and Oscar Mercado nearly came together, and he didn't secure the baseball. So that's a concern, obviously. But again, those small things for a guy with a track record, the Indians aren't necessarily so concerned about that as much as can he have a good bat path? Is he in good shape? And I think those things were answered last night. He had a couple of hits. There's a lot of good to like about Cameron Maybin.
Another guy that the Indians were really excited about in spring training, you mentioned center fielder Oscar Mercado, came over in a trade late last year at the trade deadline. Young guy that's just getting used to the outfield. What did you see from Oscar Mercado?
Well, it was interesting. When he came over from St. Louis last year in a trade, he'd played 100 games in AAA for Memphis and stolen over 30 bases. He wasn't quite as prolific on the bases for the Clippers, but you can tell the speed is there. I think he was trying to get comfortable in a new organization, so he can certainly run. He's still learning the finer points of the outfield, but his speed can make up for some mistakes. He throws okay. On the bases, he is really fun to watch. He's an interesting candidate for the Indians because he did have a really good spring. He's the only guy that's on the 40-man roster, so they wouldn't have to make a move there to fit him in. And as you said at the top of this whole thing, the outfield is a huge question mark for the Cleveland Indians, so they are really hopeful that any combination of these guys can prove to be a capable replacement with inevitable injuries. By the way, that's going to happen. But also, if any of those guys scuffle, they want to make sure there's somebody in Columbus that can fill in.
Let's talk about another interesting guy, Trayce Thompson, a guy who had done it pretty well early in his big league career, has been bothered by back injuries, and really that's affected it. And his average has gone down, his power numbers have gone down. But if he can prove that he's healthy, that's a guy early in his major league career that looked like he was destined to be a really good hitter.
Yeah, when he first broke into the majors with the White Sox, he had 295 over about 45 games, showed a little bit of pop, and never came close to that again in the major leagues. There definitely were some injury issues. You had him on a highlight earlier, and fans may notice he's kind of a right-handed version of Bradley Zimmer in his stance, a deep crouch for a guy with a lot of height. He's got, as Terry Francona likes to say, long levers. And that can get out of whack very, very quickly. It can be hard to hone it back in. So especially when you're dealing with injuries, you're trying to get your physiology right, your swing path, where your hands are, your stance, all that stuff can take a while to refine. Francona really liked Thompson in spring training. So he is certainly a guy, though he's not on the 40-man roster and has bounced around, that the Indians are keeping a very, very close eye on. And I think he's going to get a shot if he deserves it.
Ryan Mitchell, we appreciate it. The voice of the Columbus Clippers. We will be checking back in with Ryan Mitchell. We're going to take a quick time out, so when we return, we will check in with Jake Burns. It's been a busy April as far as transactions go with our Cleveland Browns. Jake Burns will put it in perspective when the Weekend Winners Edition returns.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Naturestone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Naturestone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, it has a higher insulation rating than carpet and is warmer than linoleum, vinyl, wood, or tile.
Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home. Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. It has been a busy April already for the Browns as far as transaction goes. Made a couple more today. We'll get into that in just a minute, but it's time to welcome in Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report. Jake, we appreciate the time. Let's begin with the Emmanuel Ogbah trade. You kind of felt he was going to be moved. He was, in fact, moved to the Chiefs for a safety.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense for both sides, especially for Emmanuel Ogbah in the last year of his rookie contract. You know, when they made that deal for Olivier Vernon, I think that you at that point as Emmanuel Ogbah think I'm relegated to a reserve role based on the investment that they put into that position. So in that situation, a guy who's trying to really show out last year healthy on a rookie contract, he wants as many snaps as he can get, probably didn't feel like he could get a ton of snaps in this Cleveland defense as a reserve. So he obviously thought it would be best fit to move somewhere else. And it worked for the Chiefs, who obviously lost D Ford and Justin Houston to a trade in free agency. So he'll get snaps there in their 4-3 that they're switching to. And the Browns get back somebody in Eric Murray who can do a lot of different things in the secondary, can be a strong safety when they need him to play that position, can play free safety deep and solo coverage deep. And he has a really good skill set in the slot, playing tight ends, wide receivers, who can replace that guy like Riambati Kahun.
I know you said you've done some film study on Murray. What do you like about him? What type of tackler is he? And is that an area that you think the Browns really need to shore up? They need to tackle a little bit better.
Yeah, one of the worst tackling teams in football last year, unfortunately. So they have to look to improve there. Murray's fine. He's sound. I think he can do well in space. He's shown that he can do well in space. He's far from perfect. Going to miss some tackles here and there. If he were as good as we were hoping he is, he probably doesn't get out of Kansas City, who is always looking for secondary depth. So you're hoping for a bump, just like they got from Terrence Mitchell and that acquisition in last year, coming into this year, that he gets with a new franchise, a new staff, and can be a little bit more consistent. The skill set is there, the quick change of pace, the ability to square up tacklers. He can do those things. He just needs to be more consistent with it. And you hope that, getting in Steve Wilkes' defense and kind of solidifying a role that he's comfortable with, instead of maybe playing three different positions when he's getting snaps in terms of in the box, in the slot, and a deep, you have him in a little bit more of a peg down role as somebody who can play the slot more often, or somebody who can play the edge and box run defense, things like that. Just making it easy for him, less thinking the better for defensive backs as often as possible.
Well, we touched on it a little bit. April has been a busy month already. I mean, we're not even very far into it as far as transactions go. Morgan Burnett, safety, the Browns are expected to sign him, a guy that was with the Packers, so he has that tie to the hierarchy of the Browns from his Packer days. Is expected to be released by the Steelers and signed by the Browns. So what about Morgan Burnett? How does he fit into this scheme?
Morgan Burnett's a better box safety than Murray probably is. Has played that position for the most of his career, with dating back to Green Bay. He can do a little bit of everything just like Murray can, but a guy who I think graded out, Pittsburgh fans are probably happy with him leaving, because I think that they were using him in deep coverage a little more than the Browns intend to do. So he actually graded out as a better zone defender down near the box. So advanced in age a little bit, closer to 31, probably lost a step here or there, but he's going to be a guy who you can count on being solid. He's been solid the last 5 years. He's not going to be spectacular. You're not getting a fantastic player, but you're getting somebody who the Browns just need at that strong safety position between Murray and Burnett to just be, a competent player to keep the defense on schedule and not allow any breakdowns. And I think Burnett's a solid player in that regard.
Well, another one, the Browns signed a quarterback from the AAF, the Orlando Apollos, in Garrett Gibler. And Gilbert, tell me a little bit about Garrett Gilbert, what you know about him as a quarterback. I know you haven't done a ton of work because they just signed him today, but what about Gilbert?
Yeah, I mean, a nice skill set, big guy. He obviously, the word going around is the connection to Lake Travis. He played quarterback at the same high school Baker Mayfield did, just a few years there before him, a couple guys in between him. I think Michael Brewer was the guy in between them. Ohio State fans remember him as the quarterback of Virginia Tech when they came into Ohio Stadium and beat Ohio State. So there's a good run of quarterbacks there, and their connection there with Mayfield is going to be pretty obvious. Gilbert's bounced around the NFL a little bit, found himself out of the league, and then in the AAF he had a nice bounce back and a nice feel for the pocket and delivered some accurate balls downfield. So I think the Browns are looking at a guy who's a little bit more seasoned, maybe a bit more upside to grow as he comes into the second stage of his career than Drew Stanton is probably. But he also has that good connection to Baker Mayfield, so he could blossom behind Mayfield, sort of bring him along and be comfortable in the offense to just be that long-term backup to Baker Mayfield.
One question about the draft. We'll take a timeout here in a bit, but tell me a little bit what you expect at that first pick the Browns have, number 49. They went out and got a couple of safeties. Does that negate that? Are they looking for a linebacker? they need guys that can tackle, as we've kind of alluded to.
Yeah, here's the good thing. Obviously, you address the safety position really effectively, I think, with the two guys that they brought in. Now they no longer feel that need. Say we have a hole at this position, we need a rookie to fill. There aren't many positions on this football team now where we say we have to find a rookie who can play immediately, which is a very welcome change for Cleveland fans in that franchise, which is a great thing, and it probably speaks well to how competitive they'll be come 2019. But the good part is the Browns at 49 can take best player available, and they're not saying we have to take this guy. If it's a tackle, they can take a tackle. If Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle with the torn ACL but is a fantastic talent, probably a top 10 talent, he slips to 49, he makes a lot of sense for the Browns in that position. So it can be a player that they take there too. If it's a safety that's there, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Amani Hooker, somebody they've graded well, could take him. A corner, there's a ton of good corners. Justin Lane, we've talked about. Julian Love, the Notre Dame kid. They could take any of those positions of value, and they don't have to feel like we have to take a kid that's going to play right away. That's a really great thing, and I think that, you know, people want an answer for what position. It's really hard to give that because you don't know how they value in-house necessarily, but my hunch based on what John Dorsey's history has been is important positions, corner, tackle, something along those lines, defensive tackle, you know, those sorts of guys. But the best player available is what's really great. Whoever they have graded the highest, when they brought in, talked to them, watched the tape, all the above, that's who they're going to take. And that's a really good thing. Cleveland fans should be good because those are the situations where you don't get that reach for a position in a missed draft.
Again, we appreciate the time. Jake's going to stay with us for one more, and we're going to have some fun with this next segment. When we return, we will talk a little bit about the dynamic duo, Beckham, Landry, and their coach, Adam Henry, the Browns wide receivers coach. How this all figures in, stick around. We'll have more on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. Let's head back and welcome back in Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report. We're going to talk a little bit about Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, and Adam Henry. Jake, you've written a piece in the print section of it for cleveland.com. If you get time, go and look at that, folks. It's really interesting. Take me through how you think they will use these guys together and how effective they can be.
It's a good question, and one that I was fascinated with myself. You know, Adam Henry obviously heavily involved in the last 2 years of Odell and Jarvis's career at LSU as he arrived in 2012 season. He's actually the pass game coordinator for the 2012 season, which is heavily impacting the passing game. Those two took off in 2013 when Cam Cameron came in and took over the offense. I think that what's important for me was finding just sort of trends in data, trends in route patterns, and I think I saw a lot of that in terms of alignment. Cam Cameron ran a pretty heavy run game scheme. He ran a lot of downhill running attack, but when they did keep two receivers on the field with Beckham and Landry, they love to run wheel route stuff. What I call Mills pattern, which is the outside receivers on a post over top of an inside receiver running a dig, which is a 10-yard in. They love that stuff because they love to affect those two having, you know, eyes on them all the time and having to pick who they want to take. Crossing patterns from opposite sides, whether it's a true mesh at 5 yards or whether one's running a shallow and one's running a dig behind it. It's about, you know, so much about passing game at any level, high school, college, NFL, is about putting players on the defensive side of the ball in conflict. And when you can put somebody in conflict, that's going to make them make a choice, clear things up for the quarterback. They did a great job of using those two specifically to put defenders in conflict, made it easier on quarterback Zach Mettenberger. Actually got him drafted way before he should have been drafted. And, you know, that's a good byproduct there. But I just found some trends, and they run a lot of trip sets. They would put Beckham and Landry in the middle of those trip sets, probably more often than not, it was Landry inside at what we call the number 3 receiver, close to the line of scrimmage, and then Beckham in the middle. And that isolates them on weaker defenders, gives those guys what's called a two-way go. They can go inside or outside. If you're outside the line, you can't always break inside, or sorry, you're mostly relegated to breaking inside. There's not a ton of out route based patterns, and the sideline helps defensive backs. So putting them inside in the slots there helped open things up for the passing game, gave those guys chances against weaker coverage players. And then when you think about how that translates to the Browns, you could put those guys on the outside, whether it's Higgins and Callaway, or if you want Callaway to run something deep, you could always isolate Njoku on the backside as a one receiver. He's done that before in his career with Cleveland, and he can be a deadly player there, matched up on smaller corners if he gets a jump ball opportunity. So tons of options. I mean, anytime you get Odell Beckham, a guy who can do anything and everything, he's not relegated to being in one position on the field. He can play slot, he can play outside, he can go in motion, he can do anything. It helps your offense, and I think that's where they're sitting around in their white room talking about, this is the best decision for us because this takes our offense from this level to a completely different, unheralded level. So that's that's a good thing. And you're going back, you're studying 2013 tape. It's tough to get a ton of things that'll translate, but you do know that Freddie Kitchens is a very player-oriented coach. It was a big part of his success last year, was getting input from those guys, getting input from his players as often as he could about what do you feel comfortable in. And good coaches do this. Tell me the things you're most comfortable with, what you like this week, and then pulling those things for the game plan. So I would imagine between Kitchens and Monken sitting down looking at what their offense will look like, they are going to pull in Adam Henry and say, what did you guys find success with at LSU? And let's talk about implementing some of those things as best we can. And a lot of those things are pretty universal football schemes. But nonetheless, you're going to have that input, and then they're going to pull in Odell and Jarvis and tell me how you two feed off each other best. And it's really just a match made in heaven between the three of them, and then two really good offensive minds, and Browns fans should be plenty excited.
Now, the other thing that people may not be thinking about with Beckham and Landry, what is it going to do for the run game? Because all of a sudden you can't stack the box. You better put people deep, or Beckham will be running down the sideline and there's not going to be anybody there. Nick Chubb and eventually Kareem Hunt has to be pretty excited because you're not going to see too many loaded boxes.
Yeah, we talk about that. That's an important thing about modern football, is trying to run the football against less men in the tackle box. The Rams were the team last year that were the gold standard and were far and away the leader in the NFL for using 11 personnel, just sitting in that. What I mean by 11 personnel is you're going to talk 3 wide receivers. The 1 and 1 and 11 personnel stands for 1 tight end, 1 running back. Those are the kind of perfect mixture of guys who can help out blocking, but then having 3 receivers to spread the football down the field. And the Browns have that situation in hand with their top 3 wide receivers, and then mixing Callaway in 2, and you have Njoku. But if you look at last year, Todd Gurley, who had a really effective year, ran against the fewest 8-man boxes in the NFL. Nick Chubb, who didn't get more than, I noted this yesterday on a Twitter piece, that he didn't get more than 3 carries in the week until week 7, which is pretty crazy to think about because he almost went for 1,000 yards on just 192 carries. But he actually ran against some of the higher numbered 8-man boxes in the league. Freddie Kitchens loved to use 13 personnel, which is 1 back and 3 tight ends, and that kind of congests things. So I expect the Browns to spread it out this year. You get Nick Chubb running against an offensive line that only has to account for 6 blockers. It's going to make all the more sense for him to have a big year. And like you said, Kareem Hunt can come in midway through the season, be fresh legs. He's obviously a dynamic running back in and of his own right. So you're looking at 2 running backs who should run against less men in the box. Numbers, math. I'm an English major, but numbers and math support that being a good thing for the Browns offense.
Jake Burns, as always, we appreciate the insight. You can see him in the Orange and Brown Report. He's also a contributor on cleveland.com. Always good stuff on the Browns from Jake Burns. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Is there a controversy regarding the quarterback brewing down in Columbus with the Buckeyes? We'll check in with Doug Lesmerises when the Weekend Winners Edition returns.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Nature Stone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt, eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Call or go to naturestone.com to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get up to 50% off.
Nature Stone is the affordable garage floor solution that beautifies your home. Nature Stone, the only concrete solution.
Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. The Ohio State spring football game next Saturday. It is the first spring football under Ryan Day as the head coach. Let's check in with Doug Lesmerises, who's been covering the Buckeyes spring football. Doug, what has it been like, the first spring football under Ryan Day with no Urban Meyer as the head coach?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think the most interesting thing is to watch how this offense is going to evolve into the Ryan Day offense. Ryan Day has been the offensive coordinator here for 2 years, but he was always running the Ohio State Urban Meyer offense. And now it's going to be different. It's going to be some kind of combination of what Urban Meyer likes to do, what Chip Kelly likes to do, who is a guy that Ryan Day worked under for a long time, things that Ryan Day learned in the NFL when he was there for 2 years. And so I think for fans who are going to show up for this spring game at noon next Saturday, or watch it on the Big Ten Network, that's what to watch for. Because a lot of it, I think, will be familiar offensively, but I think you want to watch for the things that are a little bit new. Maybe more two tight end set, maybe more of a tight end standing up in the H-back spot, maybe more under center, not always being in a shotgun formation. This is an evolution. It's not going to be an instantaneous switch, but this is going to be different. Watch for that Saturday.
What about the quarterback? They haven't come out and named Justin Fields the quarterback. Is there a quarterback controversy, or is it a formality?
No, it's a competition. It's not a controversy. It's a competition, and I was going to say a name only. It's real. You know, listen, we watched practice today. We've gotten to watch about 4 practices this spring. This was the 11th of the 15 practices here on Friday. Matthew Baldwin and Justin Fields both took first-team reps. That is legitimate. They are both working with the one. But just like last year, when I kind of felt like there was nothing Joe Burrow could do to beat out Dwayne Haskins, because Dwayne Haskins just had an upside that Joe Burrow didn't have. But Joe Burrow went to LSU and started there. Joe Burrow is really good. He's not Dwayne Haskins. I think the same thing is true here. Different skill sets, but I'm not sure what Matthew Baldwin could do to beat out Justin Fields. So they want to push Justin Fields. They don't want to hand anything to anybody. They want Matthew Baldwin to feel like he has a shot. But if Justin Fields is not the starter for the opener on August 31st, I will be dumbfounded. But for now, yeah, it's a competition.
Let's talk a little bit about the defensive coaches. Completely different. How is that going? There's co-coordinators, or 2 guys that both have their hands in it. What's the defensive side of the ball look like? How much different is it?
Yeah, I just wrote a big story for cleveland.com about this because the scheme is changing. 4 of the 5 defensive coaches are new from a year ago when this team ranked 71st in the nation in yards allowed, which is not normally how Ohio State plays defense. So we talked to Greg Madison today. He's the co-coordinator with Jeff Hafley. They are trying some different things with the safety linebacker hybrid defensive spot. They're playing a lot of 3 cornerbacks with slot corner against 3 wide receiver sets, which we saw last year. I think they're going to maybe rotate a lot of guys. They have a lot of young, interesting personnel, a lot of highly rated guys from their 2008 recruiting class. But I think they have to be better coached, because the more we talk to guys about last year, the more we find out that Greg Schiano leading that defense was mostly confusing guys and paralyzing them with analysis. And all they've talked about all spring is this new defensive scheme, these new coaches simplifying it, let these guys play. And I do think that there's going to be a little more talent on the defense, but I'm sure they are going to get better coaching defensively than they did a year ago.
Doug, last thing I'll ask you, who is somebody that's really jumped up and grabbed some attention during spring practice and somebody to watch in that spring game as somebody that could break out?
I always caution people against true freshmen, because at a place like Ohio State, most of the time a true freshman shouldn't play, no matter how good you are, because you have so many good guys stacked ahead of him. But Garrett Wilson, a true freshman receiver from Lake Travis High School in Austin, Texas, same high school that produced Baker Mayfield, he's in here for spring football. He wears number 5. There was an injury to somebody else today. Garrett Wilson was running a lot with the ones. Every time you watch practice, he makes a play. He is a 5-star recruit, probably as polished of a receiver that has come in here in the 15 years that I've covered Ohio State. So Garrett Wilson, number 5 on the offense, guy that you have never seen before and as an Ohio State fan, and is a guy you want to watch for next Saturday.
Doug Lesmerises, columnist for cleveland.com. We appreciate the insight with the Ohio State Buckeyes. We will check back in with Doug next week as well. That's going to do it for us on the Weekend Winners Edition. Stick around. Joining me after a quick break will be Bill Castrovince for this week's High School Sports Insider. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Keep it simple.
Leaders lead. Leaders lead.
Let's go! Stop whining!
Again, go again, yes! You gotta rotate, go, Stone!
The High School Sports Insider is brought to you by Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. By the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. By Spectrum News 1, always Ohio, always refreshing, always on, exclusively on Spectrum. By Dominion East Ohio, Dominion, it all starts here. And by Classic Teleproductions. April is here, which means when Mother Nature finally fully cooperates, we'll head outside for the spring sports. During this show, we'll also mix in some newly crowned state champions from the winter sports. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the High School Sports Insider. Along with Bill Castrovince, I'm Dave Bacon.
On today's show, we'll meet the best 2 basketball teams in the state in Division I. Plus, we've got a busy prepper, a future Longhorn who's already orange, and we'll check in on a former Insider Classic who's headed to the pros.
We begin tonight in the water with not only a record setter, but a barrier breaker. Hannah Bach did something in the water that no high school girl in Ohio had ever done. She swam the 100-yard breaststroke in under a minute. In the classroom, Bach is also a high achiever. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is proud to salute Brecksville High's Hannah Bach, this week's Shining Star. As a junior last season, Hannah Bach achieved one of her goals. She won the state championship in the 100 breaststroke. Bach, who finished 5th as a sophomore, was thrilled, but not satisfied.
Motivated me a lot. I just wanted to be a 2-time state champ because nobody's ever done that before at our school, so I thought that'd be a really good goal to have.
When Bach won states in her junior year, her time was 1 minute, 0.75 seconds. Her goal became to swim the 100 breast in under a minute.
My mindset the entire season leading up to the state championship was to go under a minute, and I did.
Bach was the first girl in Ohio to swim under a minute, and she did it twice. The first time at districts and the second time to defend her state championship.
It was overwhelming. The entire crowd was just on their feet, and I could feel the energy. It was just surreal.
We were all jumping up and down on the side and of the pool deck, and so happy for her because she's been so focused on breaking a minute. And just like the 4-minute mile, I'm sure there'd be a lot more swimmers after it, but breaking that barrier the first time is, as you know, really, really hard.
Bach is in elite company with her times, and her success is motivating Hannah to think even bigger and work even harder.
I'm faster right now than a lot of, Olympic swimmers than they were at my age. So it just gives me motivation to, in the future, what can I do or how fast I can go.
If she swam that same race at the Big Tens, she would have placed 5th. So as a senior in high school. And the Big Tens is probably one of, if not the fastest conference in the United States.
Speaking of the Big Ten, Hannah is excited she will be swimming for the Ohio State Buckeyes next season.
I looked at a few schools, but when I went to Ohio State, I really felt at home. I felt that the coaches, really put their hearts and souls into the program. Academics are very important. There's always that kind of balance and time management that you learn when you're a swimmer and a student athlete. I'm not going to college just for swimming. I'm going for an education.
If you know a student who deserves recognition like Hannah, we want to hear about them. Log on to OhioLottery.com, go to the About section, then find Supporting Education. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up on the High School Sports Insider as our next shining star.
Our next stop is Orange High School, where everyone is tickled pink about senior Janie Boyle. It wasn't that long ago that Boyle was pretty green when it came to diving. Now, Janie has 2 gold medals, and we just might see her wearing red, white, and blue in the Olympics someday. Here's Janie Boyle, this week's Cuyahoga Community College student athlete with a future. Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. Janie Boyle grew up as a gymnast, which was painful. In the 8th grade, after breaking her foot, then her hand, she found the American Flyers diving team.
A couple of my friends had gone to diving and gone to Mark, and I heard about his club, and so we called him up and I tried it for the summer, and I just loved it because diving is all of the show of gymnastics but just with less of the impact.
Boyle was a natural. 1 year into the sport, as a freshman, Janie finished 6th at the state meet. 2 years later, she was a state champion, the first in Orange history.
She trains 6 days a week, all the way through spring, summer, fall, winter, and then she's swimming in the winter time, trying to help her swim team out. So she's committed.
This season, as a senior and the defending champ, Janie was feeling the pressure. She even had to rally in the state finals. But Boyle was able to go back-to-back.
And then when it was over, everyone was still really excited, but they're like, nah, I wasn't really surprised. Like, we figured you'd be able to do it again. And I was like, okay, like, I didn't know.
In another surprise, Janie found out her score had broken the state record.
I wasn't even going for it at that point. I was just going for the win because for most of the meet I was behind and I was really nervous. But when I broke the record, it was just such an amazing feeling, and it just added to the state championship.
Now, she wants to win at the national level. Janie is a member of the USA Junior National Team, putting her on the Olympic path. And her favorite dive is the highest one, the tower.
With 1 meter, every teenage girl does the same 10 dives. But with tower, there's a lot more variety, so it's a lot more interesting to watch.
Janie will have fun next year in the Lone Star State. She's going to dive for the Texas Longhorns, and she'll go to Austin with a 4.7 GPA. Not bad for a former gymnast.
I had no idea I would come this far in 4 years, 5 years. I did not see myself in the position that I am, but I'm really proud that I got here.
Janie is still in the pool right now getting ready for the USA Junior Nationals. Good luck to her in Knoxville and Austin.
We're just getting things rolling on this week's show. We'll head back to the water to check in with a prepper who led university school to a title and a look back at a boys basketball team who was better than good. They were perfect. The High School Sports Insider will be right back. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Before I decided to go back to Tri-C to become a nurse, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I love taking care of kids. If you're thinking about changing your career or changing your path, go to Cuyahoga Community College. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I have 3 great kids. I have a great job that I love. I could not have done it without Tri-C. My name's Diana Geary. I earned my nursing degree from Cuyahoga Community College.
Thanks for hanging with us on this edition of the High School Sports Insider. The numbers for Moeller's basketball team this year were staggering. The Crusaders finished the year ranked 8th in the country. They won back-to-back Division I state championships. First time a school's done that since 05 and 06. They wrapped up a perfect 29-0 season. First big school to do that since 1995. And are now riding a 49-game winning streak. Moeller's state championship win over St. Vincent St. Mary was anything but easy. But the Crusaders responded like champions. We have an all-access look at the boys Division I basketball champions, the Moeller High School Crusaders.
Wilson, 16-footer. He hits double figures.
Nothing went well tonight. I mean, we struggled. We were behind most of the night. About midway through the third, I told the guys, it's urgency time. We got to make a move now. And we got that three from Miles off kind of a loose ball, and then we scored a bucket and got into it. Yeah, I think the fact that it was a struggle and it was in doubt the last couple minutes, because we've not had any games like that, so it's been great.
There's Williams taking it inside. Nice job by Freem, knocks it out to McBride, who throws it in from behind the arc.
Yeah, this is where Moeller is a trademark team in terms of scoring, and we just saw it again.
McBride, a quick cut, Freem the assist.
Biggest luxury ever. Miles McBride is one of the best he is the best basketball player I've ever played with in my life. Michael Shipp is the best leader I've ever played with in my life, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
Moeller is perfect in 2019, 29-0. They are the Division I state champs, first undefeated D1 team in Ohio since 1995.
Feels amazing to go out like this. It's truly special. I mean, been dreaming about this my whole life, getting to this point, and to finally do it, it's awesome.
I wanted to make sure our guys got to their guys and we shook hands, and then right when we came off of that, it hit me, and it did. The team dedicated this season to my dad, who passed away in the spring, and he was 89. He loved this team, and so when the kids dedicated the season to him, had thoughts of that.
Crusaders have suited up the last 49 games with 49 wins in a row.
We beat a really good team in Florida, and we just thought, this is it, we're not losing. That was our mission. Just get better every day and we wouldn't lose.
They were fun to be around. We had two incredible senior players. We had, and more than that, but those two were really special kids and really coachable. We were able to do a lot of scheme stuff with them. They understood the game.
I am proud to present you the Division I Championship Trophy for 2019.
It's the perfect ending to a high school career. Perfect ending to everything we ever wanted. It's the perfect ending.
Never really had a bad night. Didn't have bad practices. I mean, everybody stayed in the moment that day, humble, and that's what you have to do to be able to be consistently good, and I thought our kids really did that. So that's what I'll remember these guys by.
We continue with one busy swimmer. Owen Hanna spent a lot of time in the pool in this year's state meet. The University School senior swam in 2 individual races and was a part of 2 relay teams, racking up 3 gold medals. And he did it all with a laser-like focus. Here's Owen Hanna, this week's Spectrum News 1 Game Breaker. Owen Hanna is one cool swimmer, meaning he's pretty laid back, pretty chill. But when the University School senior hits the water, he becomes a shark.
If you see some of my teammates behind the blocks, they're kind of like, they pump themselves up, or on the bench, they're chatting, they're talking, where I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of zoning myself out, just kind of like white noise all around, I just kind of want to get myself focused. I don't really look excited. I am excited, but I don't look it, you know what I mean?
Hanna is a workhorse too. For example, he swam in 4 of the last 7 events at this year's state meet.
The meet's halfway over and Owen hasn't even touched the pool yet. So that was going to be the challenge for him. How could he manage those events with very minimal rest? And so we didn't see him until the 100 butterfly.
After finishing 7th in the butterfly, Owen swam the first leg of the 200 free relay, which is a challenge.
The 3 guys behind you, they don't want to see their leadoff guy lagging behind. It's really imperative that the leadoff guy, gets it off to a great start.
The preppers won the race, and 10 minutes later, Hanna was back in the pool for the very next event, the backstroke. And Owen cruised to his first individual state championship.
When I touched the ball and I looked up and I saw that I won, it was just like all the hard work and all the dreams that I had about it just finally just like happened. I couldn't help but smile and feel amazing about it.
And a couple of hours after the state meet, Owen was already thinking about his homework.
Well, he epitomizes this notion of student athlete that we have. The evening after they won the state championship, he's emailing me, what did I miss? What can I catch up on?
Owen Hanna is a 3-5 student who's going to swim at NC State next year, which is pretty cool.
Just the opportunity to be able to go to somewhere like NC State where they have, you know, one of the best swim programs in the country. It's just amazing.
If you missed some of today's show or want to see past episodes, they're online and free. What a deal, I know. Head to citybeat-tv.com. That's citybeat-tv.com.
Coming up next, we'll meet the team that's sitting on top of the mountain in girls basketball. And we'll check in on one of the best Tigers of all time. Stay tuned.
The best thing Tri-C did for me was give me opportunities. The workforce program prepared me for the career I have now. I got a job in the aerospace industry where I work on CNC machines. I have 3 younger brothers. I want to teach my brothers, you know, hard work actually pays off. Come to Tri-C. It's a great stepping stone to wherever you're trying to get to in life. My name is Chris Grooms, and I got my start at Tri-C.
The High School Sports Insider rolls along. Thanks for riding shotgun with us. Mount Notre Dame had a tough matchup in the state title game. The Cougars had to face Pickerington Central, the defending state champs and the team that was ranked #1 in the state most of the season. The Cougars responded with one of their best performances of the season and won the 2019 Division I state title and the honor of our Team of the Week. A loss in the regional semis last year was on the minds of Mount Notre Dame pretty much all year. The Cougars weren't happy with the way they played in that loss that ended their season, and that memory was a driving force for their second state title in the last 3 years.
We had so much motivation. We've talked about this moment ever since we lost last year. Our goal was always to get back. So to just get back, it means so much, and we were so motivated for this.
We've been working since last year to get back to this point because that win just is still eating us alive. So it's just unreal to be here right now and to end my senior season like this.
Their path was a difficult one to a state championship for the Cougars, which makes the state title that much more special. They had to knock off defending state champs Pickerington Central in the title game. Julia Heffling was a force inside.
She is an absolute warrior. That's all I can say. I mean, you might go, well, I don't know, is she fast? Somebody said, I said that she's not fast. She's fast. She's fast as soon as she goes by you. She's faster than all get out, and she's also very quick off the dribble, and that presented problems for them. And she's such a really good finisher. I can't wait to watch her and Gabby in college.
But the game was very much in doubt until Gabby Marshall hit 2 long 3-pointers to help the Cougars pull away late.
Once Gabby started hitting the threes and stuff, I was like, we are rolling. I think we had it. I knew.
I knew it would give us a little bit of a lead, and I was feeling it, so I just let it go, honestly. That's honestly my range, and I hadn't been hitting the game before or the quarters before, but I was feeling that shot, both those shots, so I just let it go.
The Cougars played their best on the biggest stage and won the program's 7th state basketball title, tied for the most in OHSAA history.
It's what you dream about, as a coach, for them to play their best basketball defensively the last 2 games of the season and withstand Pickerington Central's pressure and the pressure we faced last night. I can't say enough about the girls. They're just one of those special groups that we're fortunate to have them at Mount Notre Dame, and they represent everything that's best about girls basketball.
Every week we take a trip down memory lane for our Insider Classic. But today we're going to talk about the past with an athlete who's been on our show. In 2015, we met Hallie Thome, who was playing basketball with her twin sister Hannah at Chagrin Falls. Well, Hallie just wrapped up her college career at Michigan, and what a career it was. She was a 4-year starter who earned all Big Ten honors every season, and now she's second on the school's all-time scoring list. As she prepares for the WNBA, we got the chance to catch up with Hallie Thome, this week's updated Insider Classic.
So since I was tall at a young age, it kind of hit me early. So I had been visiting Michigan since I was in 7th grade. So I was like kind of put out into like college world pretty early because of my height. So yeah, I was at Michigan in 7th grade. There was Michigan at our games and then Florida at our games too. So we had a lot of experience pretty young. So it was cool. My mom made sure that when it came to the time when they can call, text you whenever they want, my mom put out an email and was like, they're still high school kids. I want them to experience this. So please obey by like not texting them or calling them while they're at school. And if you call them past 9 at night, then like, sorry, you're out of the mix. Being a part of a team, you have a group of friends no matter what. And it's just always something that helps you learn more about yourself. I mean, you're gonna have hard days, you're gonna have easy days. But on the hard days is where you really figure out who you are and how much you're willing to push. I think it was just the friendships I made along the way. I loved meeting new people and becoming more outgoing and just being able to kind of express yourself in a sport, and having basketball be a sport where if you're tall, you excel at it. I think it kind of gave me a comfort zone there, knowing I always fit in basketball. But a lot of the time, Hannah and I just loved it because we were together and we were making friends and doing all that. We didn't think we were gonna ever play basketball in college, and then the opportunity came and we couldn't say no. If season goes well and I stay healthy, the plan is to enter the draft. So to go into the WNBA, and then I definitely want to play overseas. So my team and I had the opportunity last year to go to Italy and Greece and play some games and do a lot of sightseeing. And I enjoyed that so much. And so if I can play basketball and go live out my dream by traveling the world, I will do it in a heartbeat.
We want you to get more involved in the show, and you can through social media. Follow us on Twitter. We're at HS Sports Insider and at Dave Bacon Sports. Tweet us your story ideas or pictures or videos showing your school spirit. We'll use them in a future show. We're still plugging away on Facebook as well. Head to our page and like us. We're at High School Sports Insider.
Here they come. The tweets of the week are coming up next.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back inside the High School Sports Insider. This is the part of the show where we want your help. We are always on the lookout for great performances, crazy plays, or high school kids just having fun. That's where you come in. When you see something like that happening, please let us know about it. A few rules. You have to use 280 characters or less. Pictures or video is even better. It's time for the tweets of the week.
The 1952-53 Middletown High School basketball teams will be inducted into the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame. The Gilmore boys basketball team hosting the Edward Branley Middle School team from France, giving them some pointers. And St. Ed's baseball tied at 3, bottom of the 7th. Joe Horozco comes through with the game winner and infield single as Spencer Marinak slides in safely for the 4-3 win.
Keep those tweets coming. We want your story ideas or pictures or videos showing your school spirit. Tweet those to us. We're at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSIOhio. Again, that's at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSIOhio. We'll use a few of them on upcoming shows as the tweets of the week. Unfortunately, we are all out of time on this week's show, but before we go, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope to see you back here next week, same time, same place, when again, we'll have some of the best high school sports stories from all across Ohio.
And as always, thanks for supporting high school athletics. Have a great night.
dare you. I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education.
I dare you to be somebody important.
Like be a teacher. Or a reality TV star.
I dare you to stand up here.
To call the shots.
To be a role model.
An inspiration. An innovator.
To be a teacher. Be my teacher.
Think you can change my life? Make me excited about science like you?
Have a career that really means something?
Then do it.
I dare you. I dare you. I dare you.